In this problem, it is given that a car runs at a constant speed on a circular track of radius 100 meters. So let us see the animation for this. A car runs on a circular track. The radius for this track is 100 meters, taking 62.8 seconds. So time taken by the car to complete one lap, that is complete one rotation, is 62.8 seconds. So we need to find out the average velocity and average speed. From the table we understand that average velocity is displacement upon time, because for every circular lap car will come back to initial position again. Here we can see, that is why total displacement, that is change in position, will be 0. Average velocity definition includes displacement, that is equal to 0. That is why average velocity will become automatically 0. We need to again find out average speed. In case of average speed, distance divided by time is the definition. That is why we need to find out distance in one lap divided by time for one lap. So to find out distance, we know the formula is 2 pi r, where pi is 3.14 and r is given, that is 100 meters. So total distance is equal to 628 meters. And divided by time, the time is also given, that is 62.8. So this 628 divided by 62.8 will be equal to 10 meter per second, that is average speed. So option C is correct answer. In this next problem, it is given that Preeti reached the metro station and found that escalator was not working. So we will see animation for this. Preeti reached metro station and found that the escalator is not working. This is escalator. Escalator always moves with a uniform velocity. Then she walked up the stationary escalator in time t1. Because escalator is not working, she will walk up in time t1. The time required for her to walk up is t1. So we can find out the velocity for Preeti. Here velocity will be equal to distance upon time, that is d upon t1, because t1 is the time required for her to walk up. On other days, if she remains stationary on the moving escalator, then the escalator takes her up in time t2. That means the time required for escalator to carry her is t2. That means velocity for this, again we can calculate by using the same definition, that is average velocity, or velocity is equal to distance upon time, that time is now t2. The time taken by her walk up on the moving escalator, that means she is also walking and escalator is also moving. In this case what will happen? The net velocity will get added. Escalator is also moving and she is also walking, that means speed will increase and the net velocity will be v equal to v1 plus v2. Put the known values, that is d divided by time t required her to walk up when escalator and herself both are moving, is equal to d distance upon t1 plus distance upon t2. These are the velocities which we have seen over here. If you calculate this, you will get next step equal to this, and if you do the addition, you will get this, and reciprocal of this will be the total time. Option D is correct. So here we used only average velocity definition, and the trick for this problem is that velocities get added and velocity of the Preeti increases because both are moving. Next problem. A car moves from x to y with a uniform speed v1 and returns to x with a uniform speed v2. There are two locations x and y. While going towards y, the speed is v1, but while coming back, the speed is v2. Let us assume that the distance is d. From given statement, speed v1 is given, so we can write for speed distance upon time, that is d upon t1. For t1 we can write distance upon v1. Similarly, while coming back, velocity is v2, so writing v2 equal to distance upon time t2, and time t2 will be equal to distance upon v2. And we need to find out the average speed for this round trip. Average speed formula is distance upon time, so we need to take the total distance divided by total time. Here total distance is 2t and total time will be t1 plus t2. Again, writing for average speed, total distance upon total time will be 2d divided by t1 plus t2. Replace these t1 and t2 values by using this equation and this equation. So 2d divided by d divided by v1 plus d divided by v2. If you solve this, you will get 2v1 v2 divided by v1 plus v2. This answer is given in option B. So B is the correct answer. Next problem is, a particle covers half of its total distance with speed v1 and the rest half distance with speed v2. It is the same problem as previous one. Here we can see animation for this. A particle covers half of the distance with speed v1. For this journey, speed is v1. For rest of the journey, speed is something different, that is v2. Again, writing for the given input, v1 will be equal to distance upon 2t1, because distance is the half distance that is travelled. Total distance is d and half distance will be d by 2 into t1. Again, v2 will be equal to distance upon 2 t1. Here again time will get added. To find out average speed, the definition is total distance upon total time. So it is very same, calculations are also very same, and answer will be again same. So in this case also option is B. A boy standing at the top of a tower of 20-meter height drops a stone. Let us see the animation for this. Boy standing on the top of the tower, he drops a stone. Assuming g equal to 10 meter per second square, the velocity with which it hits the ground is, that means from the statement we know initial velocity is 0, the height of the tower is 20 meters, and acceleration due to gravity a equal to 10 meter per second square. And we need to find out what is the velocity when the ball reaches at the ground. To find out final velocity, the suitable equation for given conditions is the second equation of motion. Here in this we can see v0 is known to us, acceleration is known, and distance is also known. That means we can use this second equation of motion. Using this equation, now we will put all the known values in this equation to find out the final velocity. So putting v0 equal to 0, acceleration equal to 10, and x equal to 20, that is distance or height of the tower. So here we can do the calculation. V square will be equal to 400 and final velocity will be equal to 20 meter per second. A ball is thrown vertically upward. It has a speed of 10 meter per second when it has reached 1/2 of its maximum height. How high does a ball rise? 4 options are given. We need to find out what is the total height that is achieved by the ball. Here we see the animation for this problem. Ball is is going vertically up. So in this case, the speed when it reaches at the half is given. That means at this particular position, the total velocity of the ball is given and acceleration is also given. From the statement we can understand that we need to find out the total height of the ball at which it will reach, and also final velocity for the ball will be 0 because at the topmost position ball will become steady for a fraction. And we can find out x by calculating this half distance, that is x1. So to find out x1, we know initial velocity and final velocity, and acceleration for the motion is also known. So looking at these available values, we can use second equation of motion. So writing the second equation of motion, here we can see that only x1 is unknown, acceleration is known to us, initial velocity is known to us, and final velocity is also known to us, that is 0. So putting the values, final velocity 0, initial velocity 10, acceleration is upwards, that is why it is taken as minus 10, or it is deceleration actually. The decelerating values are taken as minus. So putting acceleration equal to minus 10 and x1 will be equal to that we need to find out. So calculating this, we will arrive at minus 100 equal to minus 20 x1, and x1 will be equal to 5 meters. So the half of the distance is x1, that is 5 meters. So total distance will be x equal to 2x1, and that will be equal to 10 meters. So the correct answer is option A, that is 10 meters. A particle moves in a straight line with a constant acceleration. It changes its velocity from 10 meter per second to 20 meter per second while passing through a distance of 135 meter in t seconds. The value of t is, 4 options are given, we need to find the answer for t. So here we can see the animation for this example. The velocity of the ball is increasing from 10 meter per second to 20 meter per second through a distance of 135 meters, and we need to find out time for this. Here from equation of motions we can see that the equations of motions which are including time factor also includes the acceleration, and we don't know the acceleration. That is why we cannot directly use these two equations to find out the time, because acceleration is not known to us. So by using second equation of motion, we can find out the acceleration first, because in this equation only acceleration is unknown to us, and we know final velocity, initial velocity, and distance also. So by using second equation of motion, we can find out the acceleration. So let us use it. Here second equation of motion is written, motion, that is final velocity is 20 meter per second here, initial velocity is 10 meter per second here, plus 2 into acceleration into x is 135, that is the total distance. By solving this equation, we can see 20 square equal to 400, 10 square equal to 100, plus 270 acceleration, and acceleration will be equal to 300 by 270. We will put this value as it is. For calculating the time, we need to find out time. So using this value in first equation of motion, here putting all the values, final velocity is 20 meter per second, initial velocity is 10 meter per second, acceleration that we have calculated now is 300 by 270 multiplied by time. Now, if you solve this equation, you will get time t equal to 9 seconds. That means option B is correct. A ball is dropped from a high-rise platform at t equal to 0 starting from rest. Let us see in animation. From high-rise platform, one ball is dropped, and after 6 seconds another ball is dropped. Here we can see after 6 seconds another ball is dropped. Another ball is thrown. That means one ball is dropped and another ball is thrown. The ball which is dropped will have initial velocity v equal to 0, and the ball which is thrown with initial velocity v will have initial velocity equal to v. First ball will take 18 seconds to reach at the bottom, and because second ball is dropped after 6 seconds, the second ball will take only 12 seconds. Here we can see time for second ball will be 12 seconds, and the initial velocity is v. So now we know the inputs for or the values for both the motions, but we need to find out the value for initial velocity of the second ball, that is v. So in this case we can observe that the distance travelled by both the balls is equal. Both the balls have started from this position and reached at the same position. One ball took 18 seconds and another ball took only 12 seconds to do the same task. So we can equate both the distances travelled by both the balls. To find out the distance travelled by any accelerating body, we have third equation of motion. Okay, so using this third equation of motion for both the cases, we can write like this equation. For first case, we can use a equal to 10, v0 equal to 0, and time t equal to 18 seconds. So v0 equal to 0, that is why first value becomes 0 plus half of acceleration is 10 and time is 18 seconds. Half of 10 into 18 square must be equal to distance travelled by the second ball. Here v0 is v, time is 12 seconds as we discussed here. Time is 12 seconds plus half into acceleration is 10 and time is again 12 seconds, t square. If you solve this particular equation, here you can see only v is unknown, that is initial velocity of the second ball. So solving this equation, we can come up to the solution. So this will give you v equal to 75 meter per second, and option A is correct option. The distance travelled by a particle starting from rest and moving with an acceleration 4/3 meter per second square in the third second is. By reading this statement, we can understand that we are interested to find out the distance travelled in third second only. Here we can see the animation for this. This ball is travelling, so x1 is the distance travelled in first 2 seconds, whereas x2 is the distance travelled in total 3 seconds. And we need to find out only distance travelled in third second. That means we need to find out x2 minus x1. From the statement, it is given that acceleration equal to 4/3 meter per second square. The particle is starting from the rest, that is why initial velocity is 0 and time is 2 seconds and 3 seconds. Using this, we can individually find out x1 and x2, and then we will subtract these two values to get the distance travelled in only third second. To find out distance, it is x equal to v0t plus half of 80 square. Here we will use time t equal to 2 seconds to find out x1 distance and time t equal to 3 seconds to find out total x2 distance. So to find out x1, we will put the values that we know. Here v0 is 0, that is why this term will become 0. Acceleration is 4 by 3 and time is 2, that is 2 square. So if you solve this, you will get x1 will be equal to 8 by 3. Similarly, if you use the equation for calculating x2, you will use time equal to 3 seconds and x2 will be equal to 0 plus half of 4 by 3 into 3 square. And if you solve this equation, you will get x2 equal to 6 and x2 minus x1 will be equal to 10 by 3. So option A is correct. A stone falls freely under gravity. It covers distances h1, h2 and h3 in the first 5 seconds, the next 5 seconds and the next 5 seconds respectively. The relation between h1, h2 and h3 is, 4 options are given. We need to find out the relation between h1, h2 and h3. It means stone is falling for 15 seconds, and because speed is increasing under gravity, distance travelled in every next 5 seconds will be greater. Here we can see in the animation. So h1 is smaller than h2 and h2 is smaller than h3 because speed is increasing. Here what we know is acceleration due to gravity will be equal to g, that is not given. Initial velocity is 0 and time for initial 5 seconds will be 5 seconds. So we can find out h1 by using third equation of motion. So let us put the values in this third equation of motion. So it becomes, because v0 is equal to 0, this term becomes 0 and time is 5 seconds where acceleration is g. So this total value, if you calculate, it will be equal to 25 g divided by 2. So similarly, we can find out the value for h2 also. For h2, now we can see the ball is traveling for 5 plus 5, 10 seconds. That means total time for this event will be equal to 10 seconds. Now putting this particular 10-second value in again the third equation of motion, we will get this equation, because again v0, initial velocity is 0, total time is 10 seconds and acceleration due to gravity is same again, that is g. So h1 plus h2 will be equal to 100 g by 2, and if you put the value for h1, that is 25 g by 2 in this equation, the h2 will be equal to 75 g by 2. The steps are given, you can see all the steps in detail, you will understand. Similarly, for calculating the value for h3, we can use the time equal to 15 seconds. Here we can see the time for h1 plus h2 and plus h3, total distance will be equal to 15 seconds. And that is why we are getting this. h1 plus h2 is 100 g by 2 and half of g into 225, that is the square of 15. Here we get h3 will be equal to 125 g by 2. Now after looking at these three equations, this h1, h2 and h3, we can understand that h2 is 3 times h1 and h3 is 5 times h1, and this option is given in D. So D is the correct answer. In this first problem, it is given that mod of vector A plus vector B equal to mod of vector A plus mod of vector B. Then the angle between A and B will be. There are four different options given. Let us see all the four different options. So in this first option, you can see the 90-degree angle is there, and for any sort of vectors which are at 90 degree, the resultant will be like this, and this is not equal to, the magnitude of resultant is not equal to the magnitudes of these two. So same thing happens with the 120-degree angle also and 60-degree angle also. The magnitude is not equal to the magnitude of the input vectors, that is vector A and vector B. But for 0-degree angle, the magnitude of two different input vectors is equal to the magnitude of the resultant vector. So vector A plus vector B is the resultant vector. So option C is correct. In this next problem, it is given that a particle is moving such that its position coordinates x and y are 2 meter, 3 meter at time t equal to 0. Let us see the graph for this. The first position is 2 meter and 3 meter. So particle is at this position at time t equal to 0. At time t equal to 2 seconds, the particle is at 6 meters, 7 meters. So this point is somewhere here. And after that, the particle is at 13 meters and 14 meters at time t equal to 5 seconds. So particle started from this point and goes up to this point. So average velocity vector from t equal to 0 to t equal to 5 seconds is, we need to find out average velocity vector. You should remember the definition for average velocity, that is equal to displacement upon time. In 5 seconds, total displacement is from this point to this point. So we are interested to find out this total vector or change in position. So this total change in position can be found by using this formula, because it is the vector passing through two different points. So this is the formula which is taken here. So total displacement is x2 minus x1, that is x2 is 13 and x1 is 2. So 13 minus 2i and y2 is 14, y1 is 3. So 14 minus 3j. It becomes 11i plus 11j. Here total displacement is this. We need to find out average velocity. To find out average velocity, definition is this. We will use this definition, and this definition indicates that displacement divided by time. So this is the displacement, time is 5 seconds, so it will give L1 by 5 into bracket I plus j. Here L1 is common from this vector. So option D is correct. In this next problem, it is given that a particle has initial velocity 2i plus 3j. That means initial velocity is given, that is 2i plus 3j, and acceleration is given, that is 0.3i plus 0.2j. So, and the magnitude of velocity after 10 seconds will be. So time is also given, that is t equal to 10 seconds. We need to find out the velocity after 10 seconds. That means we can use the equation of motion for accelerated motions. The first equation of motion is suitable here because we know initial velocity, acceleration and time. We need to find out the final velocity. So we will use this equation, and to convert this equation we will use the vector form of this equation. So it is vector v equal to vector v0 plus vector at. By putting the known values, we can write v0 is 2i plus 3j plus 0.3i plus 0.2j multiplied by 10. If you solve this, it will become 3i plus 5j. This 3i and 2i will become 5i plus this 3j and 2j will become again 5j. So velocity equal to 5i plus 5j is the total velocity vector after 10 seconds. To find out magnitude of this vector, because the options are given in terms of magnitude, we need to take the square root of a square plus b square. So it is 5 square plus 5 square, and the square root of this thing will be 5 root 2. So the answer B is correct answer. This next problem is quite similar to the previous problem, only the values for velocity and acceleration are different. Here initial velocity vector is 3i plus 4j and acceleration is 0.4i plus 0.3j. We need to find out speed after 10 seconds. So using same equation of motion, we can write this particular equation. If you solve this, it will become 4i plus 3j, and this 3i plus 4i will become 7i. This 4j plus 3j will become 7j. So this velocity vector is 7i plus 7j. If you take the magnitude for this, you need to take the square root of a square plus b square, that is 7 square plus 7 square. So square root of 98 is nothing but the 7 root 2. So option B is correct. In next problem, it is given that a body is moving with velocity 30 meter per second towards east. Let us see the diagram for this. This is north, this is east. So the velocity is 30 meters per second towards east. Let us indicate that velocity vector. And after 10 seconds, its velocity becomes 40 meter per second towards north. After 10 seconds, it goes towards north with a velocity of 40 meter per second. Because this is in positive x direction, the I is used. This is in positive y direction, that is why that j is used. Here, the average acceleration of the body is to be calculated. From our equation of motion or acceleration formula, we know that the average acceleration is final velocity minus initial velocity divided by time. Here final velocity is this and initial velocity is this. So we will use this formula here in the vectorial format by applying vector notation. So to find out acceleration vector, here V2, to find out acceleration, we will put the known values. Final velocity is 40j and initial velocity is 30i. So 40j minus 30i divided by time t equal to 10 seconds, that is why divided by 10. So this becomes acceleration equal to 4j minus 3i, because 10 will divide to both the terms. For magnitude of this vector, we can calculate by using the Pythagoras theorem, that is square root of a square plus b square is the magnitude of any vector. So mod of a will be equal to, or the magnitude of a will be equal to square root of 16 plus 9, that is equal to square root of 25, and it becomes 5 meter per second square. So correct answer for this question is option D. Next problem. A person reached to exactly opposite point on the bank of a stream. That means a person is moving in flowing stream. Let us assume that the direction for flowing stream is this. He reaches exactly opposite point on the bank. That means he is moving perpendicular to the bank. But this movement is the output of two different vectors. One is the swimming direction and other one is the river flow. Let us see what is given next. A person is swimming with a speed of 0.5 meter per second at an angle of 120 degree with the direction of the flow of water. It is given in the statement that the swimmer swims in the direction at an angle of 120 degree with the direction of the flow of water. So we will measure the 120 degree angle from the direction of the flow of water. So this is the direction of the flow of water. So starting with 0 angle. So initially this is 0 angle. Somewhere here it will be 45 degrees angle. Somewhere here it is 90 degrees angle, and 120 degree angle will be this one. So you should measure the angle from the velocity of the river flow. This is the flow of the direction of flow of the water. We will measure 120 degree to from this direction. So it will become this direction. This is the direction for swimmer. He is swimming in this direction and the river flow is in this direction. Because of addition of these two vectors, the net resultant is in this direction, that is perpendicular to the stream. Let us rearrange these vectors, we will get this. So value of this river flow should be such that
the swimmer will come back to straight or the perpendicular direction automatically, even if he is swimming in this direction. So we know the swimmer's velocity is 0.5 meter per second. So this vector is given. Because this angle is 90 degree and total angle is 120 degree, this small angle will be 30 degrees. And in right angle triangle, the side in front of the 30 degree angle is half of the hypotenuse. Here hypotenuse is 0.5 meter per second. So the opposite side of the 30 degree angle will become half of this, that is equal to 0.25 meter per second.
So option A is correct.
Next problem, the width of the river is 1 kilometer. So this width is 1 kilometer. The velocity of the boat is 5 km per hour. It crosses a river in shortest possible path. So shortest possible path is this, perpendicular to the river, that is 1 kilometer. The time required to do this travel is t equal to 15 minutes. If you convert it into hours, it will be 1/4 hours. And this is the outcome of two different vectors. One is the velocity of the boat and other one is the velocity of the river. Imagine that this boat is traveling in the straight line and the river speed is acting in this direction. In this case, what will happen? The boat will shift its direction along the direction of the river because of the force of the water, and this will not remain in the straight line, it will go in this direction. To keep it going in the straight line, the boat should move in the opposite direction of the river, so that because of application of the force, this will come back to straight line. If it is trying to go in this direction, then it will come back to the straight line and it will go straight. So velocity of the boat should be such that the output should be in the direction which is perpendicular to the direction of the flow of the river. We have the distance for the resultant and time for the resultant. Distance for the resultant is 1 kilometer, time is the 1/4 hours. So the net resultant velocity can be calculated. By putting the values, it will become 4 km per hour. So this is the resultant velocity that is calculated. Also velocity of the boat is given, that is equal to 5 km per hour. But velocity of the boat should be in the opposite direction of the, so that it will come automatically to the perpendicular direction. So this is velocity vector for river flow, river stream, and this is the velocity for boat. By translating this vector, the value for VRS should be such that the velocity for the boat will be perpendicular to the velocity of the stream. So by using Pythagoras theorem, this is 5 km per hour, this is 4 km per hour. By using Pythagoras theorem, we can find out that VR is equal to 3 km per hour. So correct option is two cars P and Q start from a point at the same time in straight line, and their positions are represented by xp is a function of t equal to at plus bt square, and xq is a function of t equal to ft minus t square. At what time do the cars have the same velocity? So in this example, we can see that the displacement equations are given. This is the displacement equation for P car and this is the displacement equation for Q car. So at what time do the cars have the same velocity? We need to find out the time t when the velocity is same. That means there is one more condition given, that is velocity is same for both the cars. So this condition can be written as velocity of P equal to velocity of Q. Here displacement is given. To use this condition, we will find out the velocity by taking the derivative. So derivative of xp divided by dt and derivative of xq divided by dt is nothing but the velocity of P and Q. So xp value is nothing but at plus bt square, it is written over here, and xq value is nothing but ft minus t square, that is written over here. To find out derivative, we multiply with the power and reduce the power. So here power is 1, so 1 is multiplied and reducing power by 1 will give the t raised to 0. So ultimately it becomes a. Here we can see again this term has power 2, So multiplying by power, that becomes 2b, and reducing power becomes 2 minus 1 equal to 1. Output of the differential operation is a plus 2bt. In this case again ft is there, so derivative of ft is again f, because t has derivative equal to 1, minus, in this case the t square will have differential equal to 2t, because we multiply with the power and reduce power. So power is, existing power is 2, so we will multiply with the power, and by reducing power by 1 it will give t. So it is 2t now. Let us solve this. So it is 2t is taken on left side and a is taken on right side. It becomes f minus a and 2bt plus 2t. So if you take out the t common in this case, you will get f minus a divided by 2 into bracket 1 plus b. So this is available in option number D. So option D is correct. In next problem, if the velocity of the particle is v equal to at plus bt square, that means velocity is given where a and b are constants, then the distance traveled by it in between 1 second and 2 seconds. So we need to find out distance, and limits are given, that is 1 second and 2 seconds. We need to find out distance. So this condition, the limits are provided, t equal to 1 second and 2 seconds. To find out displacement or distance, we know that we should take the integration then. So from velocity, if you want to find out displacement, you should take the integration. Velocity is given, so let us take integration on both sides. Integration of v dt equal to integration of 1 to 2. The value of v is at plus bt square, that is kept as it is, multiplied by dt equal to. So in case of integration, what we do? We increase the power and divide power. So power is increased by 1, that is t square, and now the increased power will be divided. So 2 is the increased power, so divide by 2. Here in second term, the power is 2, so increase power by 1, so it becomes t cube, and again divide power, that is divided by 3. The upper limit will be used first and then subtracted by putting lower limit. The limits are given, that is 1 to 2. So putting these two limits and replacing this t, first put the upper limit, that is a into 2 raised to 2 square divided by 2 plus b into 2 raised to 3 divided by 3. Now replace this particular term by putting value 1, plus if you solve this you will get 3a by 2 plus 7b by 3. Next problem, the motion of a particle is described by equation x equal to 8 plus 12t minus t cube, that means displacement is given. Next, where x is in meter and t in seconds, retardation of the particle when its velocity becomes 0 is, retardation is nothing but the negative acceleration. So we need to find out the retardation when the velocity is 0. So we need to find out acceleration actually when the velocity is 0, that is one more condition given. So we will highlight this condition. So in this problem, displacement equation is given and we need to find out the acceleration, and one condition is that velocity is 0. To find out velocity or acceleration from displacement, we need to take the derivative. So let us start with finding the velocity first. So velocity will be equal to dx by dt, and derivative is nothing but multiply power and reduce the power. For any constant term, derivative is 0. So derivative of 12t is 12 and t cube is 3t square. Then this condition we will use here, and this equation will be equal to 0. So after putting this equal to 0, we will find out the time, because only time is unknown here. So 3t square equal to 12 and it gives t equal to 2 seconds. This is the time at which we need to find out the acceleration. But to find out acceleration, we need to again take the derivative of this equation. This is the velocity equation. So acceleration is nothing but dv by dt. Again here 12 minus 3t square, 12 is the constant term, derivative of constant term is 0. minus 3t square. Here t square, derivative of t square is going to be 2t, and it will multiply with 3, it becomes minus 60. When velocity becomes 0 times t, we will put this value in this equation so that we will get the respective retardation. That means if you put this t equal to 2 seconds here, we will get the retardation equal to minus 12, and the correct option is 12. That is option D. Next problem, a particle moving along x-axis has acceleration f. That means acceleration is given here at the time t, given by f equal to f0 into bracket 1 minus t by t, where f0 and t are constants. So acceleration equation is given. The particle at t equal to 0 has 0 velocity. So one condition is also given, at time t equal to 0, velocity is 0. In the time interval between t equal to 0 and the instant when acceleration is 0, the particle's velocity x, velocity vx is. So we need to find out velocity. In this, acceleration is given to us and we need to find out velocity. That means we need to take the integration for this equation. Let us use this equation for in front of this, and if you put acceleration equal to 0, you will get value for time t. If you solve this, this will become 0, and if you solve this again, this will become minus 1 equal to minus t by t, and this minus will get cancelled and t is equal to t, small t. That means now we have the limiting values for finding velocity. Integration on both sides will give you the velocity. As we know that acceleration, integration of acceleration dt is nothing but the velocity. So taking integration on both sides, and the limiting values are t varies from 0 to t. So this first limit is here and upper limit is here. So t varies from 0 to t, and the expression for this is as it is. In integration, what we do? In integration, we increase the power and divide power. Here integration of 1 will be t minus, so by increasing the power of t, it becomes t square, and dividing by power, it becomes t square by 2. So this is the way you should take the integration. Now the limiting values are 0 to t, and if you put 0, this term will become 0. So let us only put t value, capital T. So by putting capital T, we will get t minus t square by t. So this square will get cancelled from t, and it becomes t minus t by 2. So ultimately the output is f0t minus f0t by 2. So this is 1 f0t minus half f0t, it becomes half f0t. So this option is therein. So this is option C, and C is the correct answer. Next problem, a particle moves a distance x in time t according to equation x equal to t plus 5 brackets raised to minus 1. The acceleration of the particle is proportional to. This means displacement is given, and this means displacement is given, and we need to find out the acceleration for this. So to find out velocity, we need to take the derivative of this, and we need to find out the equation for acceleration. That means we will take 2 times derivative, because if the displacement is given, we need to take the 2 times derivative. So first derivative is this. In this, we will again multiply power and reduce power. So multiplying power is minus 1 into bracket t plus 5, and again reduce the power for this. Again we need to take the derivative for bracketed terms, because there is t, the bracketed terms derivative will be 1. So here multiplying power and reducing power, it becomes minus 2, because minus 1 will become minus 2. Next, this is the equation for velocity. Now to find out acceleration, again we will take the derivative dv by dt is equal to derivative of minus 1 t plus 5
bracket raised to minus 2. Here power is minus 2, multiply power and again reduce power. So by reducing power by 1 it will become minus 3. So here we can see minus 1 multiplied by minus 2 is the power, existing power, multiplied by t plus 5 and again reducing the power, that is it will become minus 3. Because options are given such that it includes either distance square and distance raised to minus 2. Whether acceleration is related to the distance in terms of square? No, because here we can see the power is minus 1 and here is power is minus 3. So if it is relating, it is in the terms of cube, not the square. So these two options are not correct. Now let us verify for the velocity. To equate these equations, I will adjust the power for the acceleration. So here we can see I am multiplying this power by 2 by 2. It will not alter the answer. Now this I will alter these power factors and I will take 2 outside the bracket and put the 3 inside the bracket. This way. Here you can see that 2 is outside the bracket and 3 is inside the bracket. By doing this, now I can compare this equation with velocity equation. This is the velocity and I can replace this particular value here by using the velocity term. So this can be written as velocity raised to 3 by 2. Here you can see these are the two common terms and I will replace this term with the help of velocity. So this becomes minus v raised to 3 by 2. That means the acceleration is directly proportional to the velocity raised to 3 by 2 is the correct answer. Velocity raised to 3 by 2. Here option A is correct answer. Next problem, the acceleration of the particle is increasing linearly with time t as bt. That means acceleration is given, that is equal to bt. The particle starts from origin with an initial velocity v0. The position for initial position is given and initial velocity is also given. So at time t equal to 0, velocity is equal to v0. Here we can see the acceleration is given and finally we need to find out the distance travelled by the particle in time t. To find out distance, we need to take the integration 2 times because integration of acceleration will give the velocity and integration of velocity will give the displacement. So let us start with taking the integration. Here integration on both sides for this equation will give integration of a dt equal to integration of bt dt. So integration of a dt is nothing but velocity and integration of bt, here t is the variable and by taking integration of this it will give t square by 2 because increase power and divide power. So b into t square by 2. Because the limiting values are not provided here, we will take this as indefinite integral, and in case of indefinite integral we know that the constant is added. So this is velocity equal to bt square by 2 plus c. Now let us put this condition to find out the constant value c. So at time t equal to 0, velocity equal to v0. So by putting t equal to 0, this term will become 0 and c will become v0. This constant term is equal to v0. So now again we will replace this equation by using this constant term. Velocity equal to bt square by 2 plus v0. Now to find out displacement, we know that we need to take the integration again. So integrating on both sides, this will give integration of v dt equal to integration of bt square by 2 plus v0 out of bracket dt. Here integration of v dt is nothing but displacement or distance. Distance equal to, now let us take the integration, increase power and divide power. By increasing power it will become t cube and dividing by power is multiplying by 3. That means bt cube by 6, any constant term derivative will be v0t. Here the correct option is bt cube by 6 plus v0t. So bt cube by 6 plus v0t, C is the correct option. The displacement time graph of particle is shown below. The instantaneous velocity of the particle is negative at point. So displacement time graph is given to us. We need to find out the instantaneous velocity of the particle in negative at point. So at which point the velocity is negative? Now let us see our diagram. Here you can see this kind of nature or this kind of graph indicates the negative velocity. So and also slope of the tangent is instantaneous velocity at that point. So to find out instantaneous velocity, we will draw tangents at every point. So these are the three tangents which indicates the increasing velocity. All these three tangents indicate the positive velocity. But in case of this particular tangent, you can see that, but this particular tangent indicates that as the time increases, the displacement decreases. And displacement decreases when the velocity is negative. That means the correct option is E, and that is given in option A. So correct option is A. Now which of the curve does not represent motion in one dimension? Here we can see all the curves are VT diagrams, and on VT diagram you can see inclined line is possible. Next problem, which of the following curve does not represent motion in one dimension? So motion in one dimension should not be represented by this graph. That means if suppose, so this is the VT diagram, here we can see inclined line is possible. So this indicates that velocity is increasing and then decreasing. This particular option indicates that velocity is increasing in polynomial, and this also indicates that velocity is increasing in a sine wave type of curve. All these three diagrams are possible, but in this case you can see that on the same time there are two different velocities are indicated. So time is same, but at this point and at this point there are two different velocities indicated. So one object cannot have two different velocities at the same time. So that is why the option B is the correct option, which does not represent the motion in one dimension. Next problem, a particle shows distance time curve as given in this figure. The maximum instantaneous velocity of the particle is around the point. So at which point the velocity is maximum, that you need to find out. So here you can see the velocity v2 is greater than v1 because it is more steeper. So you should find out slope of curve at different given points, and you should compare where is the more steeper tangent. You can see that the slope is maximum for this tangent. That means this particular line indicates the maximum velocity. So at C point the velocity is maximum, and option D is correct. Next problem, a body is at rest at x equal to 0, at t equal to 0, it starts moving in the positive x direction with a constant acceleration. So one body is there which moves with a constant acceleration. Initial displacement is 0. At the same instant another body passes through x equal to 0 moving in the positive x direction with a constant speed. So one body is there which moves with a constant speed from the position where x equal to 0. The position of the first body is given by x1 of t after time t, and that of the second body by x2 of t. So x1 and x2, these are the two positions are given. After the time interval, which of the following graph correctly describes the x1 minus x2 as function of time t? So it is just a subtraction of two different displacements of the two different bodies, in which one body is moving with acceleration and one body is moving with constant speed. We have our xt diagram like this. In this, the accelerated body is indicated with a curve, and the constant speed is indicated with the help of an inclined line. Now let us take an example. One car is moving with acceleration. So this particular car will be accelerating, and this second body is moving with constant speed. Here you can see what happens. You can see that this first car is increasing the velocity, whereas the second car is not increasing the velocity. Again, observe the thing that when the motion is starting, this car is ahead of the first car,
So here again you can observe that x1 minus x1 is lesser than x2 for some duration. That is why this will become x1 minus x2 will be negative for some duration. While starting, both are at the same position, that means x1 minus x2 is 0. But for some duration it is going ahead. That is why for some duration you can observe that it is becoming, or the x1 minus x2 is becoming negative. And after that this car goes ahead and x1 minus x2 becomes positive. So for some duration it is negative and after that it becomes positive. So correct option is B. Next problem. A body starts from rest at time t equal to 0. The acceleration time graph is shown. So acceleration time graph is given. The maximum velocity attained by the body. So maximum velocity attained by the body, if you remember the acceleration time graph, you know that surface area under AT diagram is change in velocity. So maximum velocity attained by the body will be whatever the change is happening, and that is indicated by the surface area which is under the AT diagram. So surface area under AT diagram will be considered only this triangular surface, in which the height of the triangle is 10 and base of the triangle is 11. So velocity will be equal to surface area under AT diagram, and surface area is half of base into height, because this is right angle triangle. Base is 11 seconds, whereas height is 10 meter per second square. Two values are indicated on the graph. So we will put these values in this equation. It will be equal to 11 tens are 110, and it becomes 110 divided by 2 equal to 55 meter per second. So correct option is B. Next problem. A ball is dropped vertically from a height d above the ground. So ball is dropped. Let us see the ball. The height of the ball is d above the ground. It hits the ground and bounces up vertically to a height d by 2. When it is released, this is the initial position. When it goes down, it bounces back to the height which is d by 2. So earlier the height is d and then it becomes d by 2. Neglecting subsequent motion and air resistance, its velocity v varies with the height h above the ground as. You can see that the height is decreasing. Initially height is decreasing. So in this case height is increasing, so this is not the correct answer. You should observe that the initially velocity is downwards. So initial downward velocity is negative velocity because displacement is decreasing. The velocity is increasing in the downward direction, that means negative velocity is continuously increasing. And after some time the velocity is decreasing in upward direction. That means velocity is positive but it is decreasing. Now we should try to find out the nature of the graph. That means whether it should be a curve or a straight line. To find out that, we have equation of motion for accelerated body, that is equal to v square equal to u square plus 2as. Here initial velocity is 0 for first case. So we will replace that particular value. And here you can observe that x is nothing but the height of the body or height of the ball. So v square is directly proportional to the 2ax. So I can write v square is directly proportional to the height. That means height is directly proportional to the v square, and that is quadratic. This kind of graph is not linear, it is a curve. It should be curve. That means option A is correct. And that is the final answer.